fight over a guy?
Nah, that's
Ridiculous.
crazy.
I think I've had a beautiful life. I have no complaints.
Yeah.
So he's a prince. He's not a slave. I remember thinking one day this girl had this blouse on that you could see through and see everything, and the fella flirted with her a bit, and she cursed him out. What did she have it on
What?
for?
Yeah. Oh my God, so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube, what's up? I'm chilling with a 90-year-old queen right now. This fella's amazing. I ain't even gonna lie. How you feeling today, Miss Anna?
Well, very well, thank you.
All right, so what made you write a book all of a sudden?
Well, it really wasn't sudden. I started this in the 1960s. And I decided I don't do a lot of talking, and I've always liked poetry. And so I started writing then. That was my first. I married in 1950, and my husband was a singer, and I would write songs for him, not music, just the lyrics for 2 songs that we had published with our PR person. That's the first time I did something that was published. And then I started writing with my church. They would poetry, what I call portraits of poetry, because it would be about members of the church or members of a holiday. I wrote about Father's Day poetry. I would write about watching out the window and seeing something that happened in the street, and that baby, I would write about it. And that was my way of communicating.
So you're a ghostwriter?
I've tried to do that. Several of my friends tried to get me to ghostwrite for them, but I was not good at that. I never did it. I had children, and in the 50s I had 4 children by the end of 59. And one of the books that I had read about writing said, if your family interferes with your writing, you should leave your family. I couldn't leave my family.
Sheesh.
So the writing was something I did as a hobby, I guess you could call it, or maybe the church would ask me to write something about somebody, and while washing dishes, the words would come, and I would write down whatever they were, and that was how I started writing the poetry. And I would do skits and plays and things like that. So I never thought about writing a novel. I put it together. It was a book when I did it, and my cousin did the typing for me, and it was life crisis or crisis of life. Just things that happen daily, getting picked up by police being seen as people besides being evil like they seem sometimes, but then they are nice policemen too.
Okay.
And so I would write about nice people.
Hey, that's so sweet.
It was, and when I went to the church in Westfield with Reverend Miles and his wife Jeannie. Jeannie's deceased now, but she was the one that really thought about my doing it more professionally. She wanted me to be her ghostwriter. And we would talk a lot. So what she would do, she would invite movie people, entertainers, popular, and to come to the church as a special occasion, and make presentations to them. And the presentation would be a poem that I had written about them, I read about them, and I know the person that I'm speaking about, and I just write a poem that describes that person.
Okay. Before I say what I'm about to say, disclaimer, I read over 1,000 books within a 3-year time span. It's to the point now, I hate reading. But your daughter gave me your book. I was like, let me see what this talking about. So I ain't read it straight through. I've been reading like chapter here, chapter there. Like I'm all over the place. I'm not reading in order.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about I done read it on the airplane, in the Uber. I done read it in Miami. I done read it in Las Vegas. Like I'm taking the book with me everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
And for some reason, the modern day clergy, I don't know why that stuck out to me so much.
Yeah, well, that was about her husband. That was the modern day clergy that I was. Their son, was Miles Austin. He played for the Texas football team, Miles Austin. But I was not familiar with Miles. It was his parents and his grandparents. His son, the Reverend's son, was the age of my son, and his wife and I were very close friends. And that was who I wrote. I had to write about something for him, and so he was my model for that. I wrote many times about my pastor, Reverend Irvin, but I haven't kept a lot of the writings that I did. The first time I wrote was about, Kelly was 2, and I wrote about our first airplane trip.
Sheesh.
And so that was just my way of, I was never one that did a lot of talking. We were called the Cooper Girls, me and my sisters. And I was the quiet one.
The Cooper Girls, where'd that come from?
Well, our last name was Cooper, and they were very popular, my sisters. They were into life and whatnot. I was the one that nobody knew. That's the quiet one. That's the one with no name, or I was the one sore thumb of the family, whatnot. I was just plain me.
Okay.
And I didn't talk a lot, but I would write. But then some people that really knew me would say, if you knew her, you know she talks. But I didn't talk to everybody. I chose the people I talked to. I chose many young people that I talked to, and that I could relate to.
I know. I told some. Oh, sorry, what you were saying?
No, that was it. It was just my relating to young people. I just felt that if I could speak to them, they were doing negative things. If I could talk to them, I could change their ways. I don't know nobody's ways I change, but anyway, I felt that I could.
Okay.
That was how I talked to them.
I told some people about you, and I got some people to submit some questions for you. So I'm going to let you. This the first one right here. Let me turn it up for you.
How you doing, Miss Green?
Hi.
I just want to say, how you doing, Miss Green? I just want to say many, many blessings to you.
Thank you.
And I just want to ask you this. At what age did you start taking life more serious as far as chasing your dreams and really doing the things that you really want to do in life?
After I got married, and my first marriage, we grew apart. We never hated each other. It was just, we married when we were 20, and I guess I was too young for it. And
that's one of the saddest things in life to me, how two people can be in love, everything's sweet, and they just part ways.
Was just, well, he wanted to be an entertainer. I didn't want to be anything that I knew or could think of. I wrote songs for him. I thought he was more like Johnny Mathis, not your generation, but they thought of him more like Jackie Wilson. That's what he wanted, and he was not a dancer and all that sort of stuff. But he wanted to be a singer. He started singing in the church, because I've been in church since I was big enough to walk.
You feel like singing like 10 seconds of one of his songs?
Singing?
Like 10 seconds of one of his songs for us?
All my kids could. Kelly's a singer. All the kids are singers. My husband, my first husband, the one that is a singer, would tell me that I couldn't carry a note if it was given to me. I told him I could carry it if it was given to me, but I'm not a singer.
Okay, you got your way out that one slick. All
I
right.
am not a singer. I like writing lyrics, but Kelly would be the star. The kids would be the stars in my programs.
Okay, it's the second part of this question.
And
21.
another question I want to ask you is, what was the hardest adjustment that you faced coming from the time where you were growing up as a little girl from the newer generations?
Well, I've always been a bit of a dreamer,
Mm.
and I was always be in my own little personal world and thinking of things that what I would like them to be like.
Hmm.
So I would say that I was a bit of a dreamer always, and a people. I called it a people person. I like people. I would watch a person to see how they react to anything, and it's something. My husband, my second husband, was not a churchman. He was a bartender, and he
Oh,
was beautiful. We were married for 40 years. My first husband, it lasted 9 years. So what that 8 year itch or whatever they call it, you think that you really know a person when you marry him. And I was ready to settle down and work with the marriage, but he was ready to explore. And so I let him explore.
yeah. Bartenders live fast.
And I said, well, he went his way, and when having children is a blessing from God. And to me, the most important things were the children. And that was my primary thing. I didn't think about anything else except giving my kids the best care I could. And my spare time, I would write my little rhymes. That was my past. I went to church. I went to Sunday school. Then in those days you had church all day. On Sundays you would have Sunday school 9 till 12, and then first service, and then you would have a middle day service, and then you would have a PYB for young teenagers, and then you would have an evening service. So Sundays were spent with church. My other times would be spent with my favorite thoughts or people. Like Liz Taylor was my favorite actress. I thought she was beautiful and talented and everydayish.
Liz Taylor. Okay.
And I just like to write about people in a natural atmosphere, not with a special color for it. I've always been aware of our the relationships and the prejudices, and experienced many of them, but not to the point of where they made me angry or made me want to hurt anybody or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's life, and
Okay.
we live life. We don't make life.
It's about to get real. Alright, so I want to get your opinion on this in life. What you think the most important thing is out of these? Is it love, respect, money, time, or health? Love, money, respect, time, or health?
I think I would think of them first as a respect. Respect your neighbors. Respect your next person. Love is important. Love can be fickle sometimes,
Whew.
or depending on if it's real love or if it's a make-believe love. Because who would say that me, a church girl all her life, would marry a bartender that's been a bartender all his, and they would say I had him digging ditches. I'd never had him digging anything. We were just the opposite of sex tracks or whatever, how that puts it. But I think respect is important. Money is the bottom of the line. You can always make money. It's what you do with it that's more important than making it. Some people make it and then they do it, spend it on so many ridiculous things. I used to think that cleanliness was next to godliness, and that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in money. It's in self-esteem, how you feel about other people, how you treat other people. And like the Bible tells us, treat a person like you would like to be treated.
Simple math. What you think your purpose is?
I think I have been blessed to have jobs that I never had to look for welfare or anything. I was refused a
Hey,
job with welfare because they said I had the wrong views. But my thoughts is that you do the best you can always in whatever it is that you're doing. And the job is not as important as your interest in what you are doing and trying to prove with it. I said, what I would tell my kids, if you're being a street sweeper, be a good one. Be good at what it is you want to do. And then you'll earn the monies that you need.
I agree with that. I don't know if you, I don't know if you're a player or if you're single or not, but my friend Avis told me to ask you, how do you be happy and single? What's the key to that?
If you enjoy what you're doing, it makes you happy. If you have a job that is a chore, a real chore, then you're not going to be happy
Oh
there.
no, it's gonna
You
feel like
need a
work.
job that it's more compatible for you. And I've been blessed with jobs that were beautiful places to work, beautiful experiences. So I said, God has always been on my side to do what I feel is right from the Bible. I'd read it 3 or 4 times, I don't know. And to
You
me,
read the whole Bible?
Yep, I've read the whole
Sheesh.
Bible several times over. I can't recite it like a preacher or whatnot like that, but I read it and I understood basically what I was reading, and I believe it.
Ain't nothing wrong with
And
that.
I believe if you be fair with people, they'll be fair with you to a degree. Sometimes when people take kindness for
Weakness.
yes, and that's not necessarily the case. You try to be nice to a person, and then you find that sometimes they try to do whatever they can to take advantage of you.
Oh, I can't stand them people.
Yeah, but the people are can be basically nice if they choose to. Some of them are also basically evil and mean. But I've always tried to separate myself away from those that I didn't choose to associate with. I try to pick people that think basically like me, and that's for my expression of them, my talking with them and whatnot. And you're looking for a good life that's not to hurt anybody
Mm.
and to try to be fair with other people. It don't always work, but you try it anyway.
So all you can do is try.
Yep.
One of my dear friends told me, she said, ask you, I'm gonna try to read it in her voice. How did she learn to accept white people, forgive with no hate in her heart after everything she's endured?
Well, you know what? At 90, I've experienced lots of things. I remember the first time I visited South because I was born in New Jersey. And since I've been in Virginia these past 15 years, I found that a lot of prejudiceness has gone on, still goes on here.
Mm-hmm.
But there are lots of people of all races and all colors that like one another. You have those few that are jealous and envious because of what they don't have. But I've never been, I think the first time I experienced this white girl was working in a restaurant, and here we drove up there in a beautiful big car because the person I was with, her husband was a lieutenant in service.
Oh.
And she says, oh, I'm not serving those black people. But I sympathize with them. I pity them. They're the ones that have a problem. We don't have a problem. and I never felt that I had a problem.
That's
I felt
good.
we had to work hard for what we got, and I felt that we got what we deserved sometime, and sometime not. So, but I don't hate them. A lot of my friends were Caucasians. I remember my first one was an Italian girl. I had lice in my hair. We were about 4 or 5 years old, and the first funeral I went to was for a white girl.
Oh,
That
snap.
was I was about 5 or 6, and I'd never seen Snow White, but that's what she reminded me of. That was in the 30s, and she had a net. She died, and she had a net over the sheer nets that they put over the person, because that was the time, I think, of some bad times in the 30s, what depression and lots of things, and the theory or something. She must have had that because she looked like, I was about 5 or 6, and she was the prettiest thing I had ever seen.
Oh,
I thought she was covered by this white thing chill over her, and they let us. We could at the kids, the seniors, they sat around the walls of this place, and it was interesting. Shows about how times change as years went by. That same place that we went into for that funeral for or service for that beautiful young girl was a club for nightclub people. It had changed, it was no longer a place for Italians. It was now a place for people of color, and they
okay.
used it as a club. But I remember when I had been in remembered that club from when I was in it at 5 or 6 years old. I got lice in my
Hold on,
hair.
hold on, hold on. You was in the club at 5 years old?
No, no, it was,
Oh.
no. That's when it was the funeral service for the.
Okay.
That's when the club. It wasn't a club then. It was a funeral place. It was just a big hall,
Okay.
and they had. That's where they had it at then, and I just remember that. I can still see that young lady. She was just so pretty. Maybe she was a teenager, about 18 or 19 or something like that. But I always remembered Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs because that's what she looked like. She had beautiful bangs and short, dark hair, and she was just pale. That was my first seeing of a person, a Caucasian, and getting lice in my hair. My mother washed my hair out with something, and I sucked my thumb, and they told me that if I sucked my thumb, I'd die, so I never sucked my thumb no more.
You fell for that
But
trick.
I never hated them. Some of them are beautiful, and some of them are very selfish. But I always admired relating to people. That's my real thing. I like to see what makes them tick,
Okay.
what type of person they are. Some of my best friends at the telephone company, one of them, she was thought the prettiest place in her life she'd ever seen. Her husband was a technician and architect, and they did a lot of traveling. And she told me that the prettiest place she'd ever been was Mississippi, and I couldn't imagine that.
Mississippi is trash.
Yeah, but she says that the scenery there, because I like scenery, I like beautiful grass and nice lawns and whatnot. And she said that, we'll see, like I said, she was a girl, a Caucasian girl, beautiful blonde, and I guess the part of Mississippi. But when she said Mississippi was so pretty, I couldn't imagine that.
Nah.
No, I couldn't imagine a place that had so much prejudice to ever be pretty. And so, but she was pretty, and we related a lot. I think my birthday was her wedding day, and we were good friends. But I didn't take them home with me.
Okay.
But I think you can get to be friends with people that you don't have to be associated with every day.
Those are the best friends, for real.
Yeah.
You don't get tired of them.
Right. And they're general friends. And I think that's what most people are.
Yeah.
And at that time, my only thoughts with life were to raise my children and to raise them to the best of my ability. And
How many children you got?
5 and 1 bonus child, as Callie calls her. But I birthed 5 children, And I have many godchildren and special spiritual children.
Dang. That's amazing. One of my closest compadres named Jennifer, she sent a few questions in. She said, ask you, what's one of your best memories you can think of off the top of your head?
I think when we bought our first home, you know, it was hard for people to get a home. My kids were and this was with my first husband. It was his money, his GI Bill, and my mother's money, and we bought a house.
How much it cost?
I don't know what the price, what it cost or anything, but it was a 3-family house. We had a Polish family on the first floor, and they were beautiful people. The hallway always smelled nice, and a Jewish family on the top floor. And the house was owned by an Italian family. So it's like I've been with United Nations. We joke about it always. There have been beautiful people, Italian, Polish, whatever, but there have also been ugly people in the same way with some of them and whatnot. But you don't always look for the ugliness in a person. You look for what's nice in them.
That's what I try to do.
Yeah, and you portray the nice part of yourself with them, and it's nice to relate to people like that. But I think that was I know when it was hard to get an apartment with children in those days, and extra hard if you were not, to move in certain areas because of what they would say, children would mess up everything and whatnot. So people didn't want children in their house. All people don't take care of children the same way.
It's still like that.
Yeah. And but when when my mother and my first husband, they bought a house together. I was just a third party. It was my mother 50% and my husband and I 50%. So I don't know if I would have ever married again, but I divorced him to give my mother 75%. So she was moving to California. I don't know. I think I like people. Not that I want, not closely and nothing sexually. Basic people that are nice.
You think you too nice?
Well, that's what they used to tell me sometime, but I'm not that. And they used to say that we refer to my husband, Charlie, and I as the angel and the devil, or I said, I'm no angel and he's no devil. But he stopped bartending after we got married.
The bartender.
He was a bartender. I said he went from selling beer in the bar to making beer at Budweiser because he worked there until he retired.
Okay. Then she asked me to ask you, what's your secret to longevity?
I don't have the slightest idea because I never would have imagined that I would still be around. I've seen death at all ages. My youngest friend was 15 when she passed, and her mother had been a sickly person. I would wonder why people died at early ages, but I have no idea, and I just don't. I like people, and I like to relate to them. And when you find someone that you can relate to and talk about common everyday things, people get away from the common parts of life to go into extraordinary, ridiculous parts that don't make any sort of sense.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple, always. That's the best way, and it makes it nice.
And her last question, she said, how does she feel about the world today compared to when she was coming up?
I think there have been so many changes, and some of them have been positively wonderful. Some of them have been not so wonderful. But I think I put it all that God is still in charge. I said we don't make life, we just live life. And
Ooh, I
There
like
has to
that.
be a supreme person. And I never, I, I thought that my best friend, when we were studying in school, she was 16 and she passed away.
Dang.
And I don't know how or why people pass away young or old or whatnot, but good pass and young and bad pass at the same way. Like the Bible tells us, He don't separate them; He separates it later. So
Sheesh.
why I'm still here, I don't know. But I said, as long as He blesses and He keeps you going on, I said, when I wake up, I'll say, thank you, Lord, for another day. I shall be glad and behold, be praised and be and praiseful in it. And take it one day at a time or 1 hour at a time, as they say now. Sometimes it's like 1 minute
Yeah,
at
I
a
was about to
time.
say 1 minute.
But we don't know. And how it happens and why it happens. And it happens to good people as well as negative people. And it's not for us to say who's considered good or who's considered negative, because we're all with sin, where none
Yeah.
of us are perfect. I think I've had a beautiful life. I have no complaints. I've worked beautiful jobs, and God has been good.
Mm, I felt that. My friend Marlon told me to ask you. I'm gonna tell you what I think first. Today, these females are out of control.
Yes.
I think they just too many free spirits, the feminists, feminism, all that crazy stuff. He said, what advice would you give modern women today?
I think they should put, first of all, put on a dress. If you have a body that's a size 16, wear a size 16 dress.
Yeah, instead of showing
I
all that.
think they, like I read in one of the pictures that I've seen, don't show the top and the bottom at the same time.
Jeez,
Show one of them.
I
But
can, I can
what they're
sign for
doing
that.
with it now, they're showing all of it. They have no self-respect,
No morals. Oh
no
my God.
morals. And I think that's missing positively. You can look very well in a nice dress. That I used to get teased about pulling my dress all the time. But fellas see me at the water fountain, and I'm pulling the dress and making sure it's proper length and everything. But dignity and being a little, having a little modesty.
It seemed like they don't care though.
Yeah. I remember thinking one day this girl had this blouse on that you could see through and see everything, and the fella flirted with her a bit, and she cursed him out. What did she have it on
What?
for?
Yeah. Oh my God. So glad you said that.
Yeah, I think you do things that aggravate and provoke people to degrees that are really unnecessary. Now, I think I've seen a lot more of that today. Some of what they call the skin pants. Oh my goodness,
Oh yeah.
what goes into those pants? How can they come out in the street with it? But to each his own.
To each their own.
You, so I think the old days had their positiveness, but like they say, the circle of life. But that's life, and
I
we only live it.
I just thought about this. I know you're familiar with Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt, yes, she was not my favorite person, but I remember all of the movie, many of the movie stars. There was some I thought a lot of, like Dorothy Dandridge and
Oh my
Pearl
God, I love
Bailey,
her. Oh my God, I love her.
and
Jeez.
Diane Carroll.
Oh my God.
And
Natural
I remember
beauties.
I said, now
Jeez.
some of them that the age it gets fantastic the way they treat it. I remember Diane Carroll and I were in the same basic age group. I know, and I think the one thing we tried to do when we came out of high school was go to. That was the time when they weren't taking young ladies of color as models and whatnot. I think we both came to school with, and they told us, well, you girls would have to go to Color or Ebony magazines. You know, there's nothing they can do for you, but that's life. We didn't ask to be brought here in the colors that we are.
Nope.
We're living examples of life. And I said and I never thought of myself as second class anything. I'm first class. Always.
Hey,
Always have been,
okay.
always will be.
I brought up Earthy Kitt because I was going to see what you think about settling versus compromising. Because, you know, Earthy Kitt was like, compromise for what? I would never compromise. I mean, because you seem feminine, like a real feminine lady. I try to stay away from masculine females.
Yeah. I think you be yourself. And you don't have to prove anything to anybody. You know? Act natural. And there's always going to be prejudice and negativeness with other people. People can just dislike you because of you're a shade lighter or a shade darker than they are. So you have prejudice with our own people. As they say, I remember being told that at one time, if they couldn't see the veins in your arms, you could not become a dance girl in New York. That was years
That's nuts.
But I never wanted to be a dance girl.
That's insane.
Yeah, and things were crazy then. And I remember I wanted to go to work at the White House, and my mother told me,
Jeez.
You don't need to go there with those people.
She might have said
That's how she put it. People look for different, and it's not, unusual for what women speak that they're working with this person so that they can take somebody's husband. I don't want to take somebody's husband. If he's mine and I want him, you can't have him. And if he don't want me, anybody can have him. But they make it so unnecessarily complicated. Is it fighting for him? Fight for what? That's ridiculous. I think that's what attracted my husband to me. The first time I met him, we were at a bar, and this girl was sitting on his lap, and he was a handsome person. So they asked, what was I going to do? I said, he's not sitting on my lap, she's sitting on his lap. Now, if she sat on my lap, that would be another problem. But I'm not going to do nothing. Fight over a guy?
Nah,
ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Ridiculous as a guy fighting over a girl. Both of it is crazy. But people do those things. And you wonder why some of them do the mean things they do. And we can't come, with all the mean things that people do. I remember one picture, I don't know the girl in it, but it was an old picture, and she said, she and her son went over the cliff. Well, that was just a movie picture.
Yeah.
She said, he's a prince, he's not a slave. Well, I forgot the actress that was in it, but I remembered that particular scene. I don't remember the experiencing many of the things that some have experienced. I know my sons have, being stopped by the police, but I've seen police be patient and understanding people, whereas you have those others that are hateful, and that's because they don't have anything themselves. They don't have any self-esteem, any pride or anything. You only see those that are like that act like that.
Yeah.
They're out of shape, out of touch, and out of everything, and they're angry.
Do you feel content?
Always. I'm content with me. I said, I never would think of pushing my foot into anybody's door. If it's open, I'll go in. But if you don't want me in there, I'm not going. I don't need you no more than you think you need me.
I ain't even gonna lie. I spoke to over hundreds of people. You're the first person that said you feel content. Everybody else was like, it's never enough. It's always going.
I think contentment is, something that you have to be in yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be content with where you are and what you're doing and the reason for it. I study for my jobs. when I would be pregnant or something, I would be studying my shorthand, my typing. I would be prepared for the job that I would be going out to seek. And I would get the job that I was going out to seek because I had applied for it. And so I don't feel that I was neglected or that I was hurt in any way. I had one of my early jobs, the fella told me that I was applying for secretary, told me I could come in his back door but not use the first door. Then I realized that he didn't know what color I was, and when we first started talking. And I told him thank you, but no thank you. I've seen the fellas that flirt with girls that work with and whatnot. Girl has to flirt back if it's going to work.
You got that right.
I don't flirt back. Don't touch me any place on my body because I don't want you to. And if I want you to, that's a different matter.
They gotta respect it.
Yes.
Any last words for the people?
Respect yourself and let others respect you.
Y'all heard it. Respect yourself and let other people respect you. Alright, make sure y'all check out her book too. I'm about to get her to autograph my book. In the meantime, in between time, peace. That was pretty cool.